You can call me Coach Manny, a real estate expert with Vatican Gardens Projects, and we're live here at Oka office of Vatican Garden Projects, Hallmark Plaza, just beside the Udoka Housing Estates, by the Enugu Onitsha Expressway. You can join us live or you can join us online. And we're going to be having an exciting section today. We started a series last week, real estate, the basics you need to know. As introduction to real estate, the basics you need to know. And we said that for everything you are going into or for everything you are into, there is need for a foundation. Because if the foundation is faulty, then whatever you are doing will crash very soon. So laying the perfect foundation will help you to go higher. The depth in which you go will determine how high you can go. I also said last week that you don't jump up, because a lot of people want to just get to the sky. They want to make the 20 millions now. You don't jump up, you grow up. If you jump up, you will come down. That's the law of nature. But if you grow up, you stay up. So the essence of this is for us to grow up as realtors, as real estate agents, as people interested in real estate, or you even want to have an investment in real estate. This introductory class is very important for everyone. Now, today, last week we looked at the terminologies, what is real estate, and the types of real estate, the different ways you can enter into real estate. Today we want to look at real estate in form of land acquisition. That is, we're looking at real estate investment. Real estate investment. And we're looking at specifically land acquisitions. Now, understand that real estate is a pathway for making wealth. Like I said last week, the beauty of real estate is that there is no ceiling to how much you can earn. There is no ceiling to how much you can potentially earn. Unlike other jobs where you have a salary, real estate does not pay a salary, but then you can earn any amount you want to, depending on how much work you are willing to put in. So your input will determine your output. How much work are you willing to put into real estate? Now, the easiest entry point to real estate is land investment. That's the easiest because it's the cheapest to enter through. Land investment is the easiest. And we have land investment in various forms. We have the commercial, we have residential. So you can join real estate through land investment. Now, when we say land investment, we actually mean buying land. We explained land last week, and we said that land is an empty plot or plots. It could be used for farming, agriculture, but it's undeveloped. That's the most important thing. That's why we call it land. It is undeveloped. So you can enter into real estate by buying, owning, or selling property for profit. So since we are specific about land, buying, owning, and selling land is the easiest way for you to enter into land investment. Now, why land investment? If you may ask, why should someone invest in land? Number one, it is affordable. I've said it here. You can get land as low as 100,000. There are villages you go to now, you still see land as low as 100K. That is very true. You can still get 1 million, 2.5 million, but you can't get buildings within that range. So land is one of the most affordable entry points into real estate. Number two is that the value of land keeps appreciating. I've never seen a land that they said last month or last year or last 2 years or last 10 years it was selling for 500,000 and now it's selling for 300,000. It's not possible. By the time you come now, it would have increased in the amount, in the cost. So land always appreciates. Now, another good thing about land is that you don't need to develop it because it's land. It doesn't have much stress. It doesn't have much stress. There is no need for renovations. There is no tenant stress. It's just land, unless you want to lease it. So there is nothing new in the land. Then it's flexible. It's easy for you to either develop, to lease it out, or you sell it. So it's a flexible form of investment. So you can either develop it, lease it out to people, use it for agriculture, use it for poultry, etc., or you sell it off. And then land is a tangible asset, so it's something that is always there. Now, for example, if are we together? Okay. Now, when it comes to land, we're going to be looking at certain key terminologies. Now, I want you to take note of this whenever you are doing a land acquisition. We're looking at the land sizes and the land titles. The land sizes and the land titles. Now, land is usually measured in square meters. Whenever you're buying a property, look for the square meters or square feet. But the most important one you should look for is square meters. What's the size? In square meters. A parcellated land is divided in what we call plots. So that's where you say 1 plot of land, half plot of land, 2 plots of land, 5 plots of land. So land is parcellated in what we call plots. Half plot of land is about 225 square meters to 324 square meters. Around 225 to 324. That's in feet is around 50 by 50 feet to 60 by 60 feet. That is what we call a half plot. So if someone says, I want to buy a half plot or I'm selling a half plot, what the person is selling is a land that is between 225 square meters to 324 square meters. Then we have a full plot. A full plot is around 450 square meters to 648 square meters. That's a full plot. 450 square meters is around 50 by 100. So sometimes you want to buy land and they tell you this land is 50 by 100 feet. What it is in square meters is 450 square meters. Then you have 60 by 120 feet. That is 648 square meters. All of them are still one plot. The recommended size, at the lowest recommended size for a plot is 450 square meters. It will get you your building and then a little garage for parking and all. 450 square meters. Anything below it, you will be constrained for space. Then the highest is 648 square meters. That's 60 by 120 feet. Then we have what we call an acre. An acre of land is a land that is measuring about 4,046 square meters. That's an acre. 4,046 square meters, which is roughly around 6 to 8 plots of land. So if the land is 450 square meters, if the plots are 450 square meters, then in an acre you will get 8 plots. If a plot is around 648 square meters, then in an acre you will get 6 plots. So it depends on the measurement of the plots. So an acre of land is around 6 to 8 square meters. This is roughly a football field. That's what the size of a football pitch is an acre. Then we have hectare. Hectare is around 2.5 acres. That is roughly 15 to 20 plots of land. Hectare is roughly 2.5 acres. That's 10,000 square meters. 10,000 square meters, or 328 feet by 328 feet, which is roughly 15 to 20 plots. So tomorrow, someone tells you, oh, I have an hectare, I have 40 hectares. You can easily make the calculation. So if someone tells me, oh, I have 10 hectares I'm selling, I know the person is selling around 150 plots to 200 plots. That's a hectare. So these are land sizes you need to be aware of. Half plots, full plots, acre, and hectare. Because this is what you will be looking at whenever you are buying a property or whenever you are helping a client to buy a property. You have to look at the square meters. What is the land in square meters? What is it in square feet? Usually the square feet will show us the length and the breadth of the land. So if you say 50 by 100, it means that the entrance is 50 and then the side is 100 feet. I hope you get that. That's land sizes. Then land titles. Land titles. Now, when we talk about land title, we're talking about legal documents that show ownership of a land. Legal documents that show ownership of a property or a land. This time around, we're looking at land, so land titles. The most important land title we have in Nigeria is the C of O. The C of O. We call it Certificate of Occupancy. It's either written as C of O or C/O. So wherever you see it, you know what it is. Certificate of Occupancy. Now, Certificate of Occupancy is a legal document issued by the state government that shows ownership of a piece of land. Issued by the state government, that's the key word. It is the primary proof of ownership of land. Now, in Nigeria, every land is owned by the government. Hope you know that. In Nigeria, every land is owned by the government. That you bought a land, you are just a tenant. By law, you are just a tenant in that land. The C of O has a 99 years validity. Now, after the 99 years, you are expected to go and renew it. After 99 years, you are expected to go and renew it. The C of O, there can't be two C of O in one land. You can have two deeds in one land, but you can't have two C of O in one property, in one land. That is why C of O is the best way to know ownership of any land. The C of O is the best way to know the ownership of any land. Now, we also have what we call R of O, right of occupancy. Now, these ones are issued by local governments. It's usually for rural areas. is issued by local government. So either C of O or R of O. C of O is issued by the state government, while R of O is issued by the local government. Then, another important light title you need to know is the Gazette. What is a Gazette or Gazette? Is a record of lands that have been released to the community by government. Sometimes governments take over some land. When that land is released back to the community, there is what we call a gazette. It shows the records of all the lands that are no longer, that have been released by the government to communities for individual use. Now, whenever you are buying a property, you need to go and check that property, whether it has a record in the Gazette, to know if that property has been released by the government for private ownership. That's one of the ways you can verify your property, to know if government has an interest in that property. So you go to the state record and check the Gazette and know if that property is under government control or if that property is free for individual ownership. That's a Gazette. Then, still here we have the power of attorney. The power of attorney. The power of attorney is a legal document that shows that an individual can help another individual to make sales. That's an individual can, on behalf of the owner of the land, make sales of that land. For example, if you own a property and I want to help you sell that property, what I need from you is a power of attorney to show that I can sell your property. So the power of attorney is you giving me the rights to be able to sell your property for you. I hope that is understood. That's power of attorney. It is a way you give someone right to make sales of a property for you. Most of the properties I sell, I ask to be given a power of attorney. That's what shows that I have the right to sell this property. Then we have survey plan. Survey plan is not a title in the real sense of it, but what it does show us is the dimensions of a land. It shows the dimensions, it shows the location of a land. It shows the boundaries of the land. It shows the topography of the land. That is a survey. So if I want to know the exact location of this land in longitude and latitude, the survey is what will show me. The survey also shows us the owner of the land, because every survey must have ownership on top. And every survey must have a plan number. It is that plan number that you use to verify it from the survey department of the government office. So, survey plan. It shows the boundaries, it shows the size of the land. So this, we're talking about square meters. That's from the survey you can really verify that this is actually 450 square meters. Because someone can just tell you, this land is 2 plots, is 900 square meters. When you look at survey, you now see 600. You can't say it's 2 plots, it's 1 plot. So the survey shows us the actual size. It also shows the boundaries. So when there is an issue, a boundary dispute, what we look at is survey. What does the survey say? And survey must be done by a certified surveyor. It must be done by a licensed surveyor. Surveyors are licensed per state, so you don't carry a surveyor from Abuja to come and do a survey in Anambra, they are licensed per state. So if I'm doing a survey in Anambra, I need a surveyor from Anambra to do the survey, a licensed surveyor in Anambra, and it must be registered. So when someone does, like the surveyor does a survey for you, you must ask if this survey is registered. You must have the signature, the stamp of the surveyor. It must contain the plan number. It must show the location of the land. Then we have contract of sales. Now, this document is when you are about buying a property. The first thing the buyer will give you is a contract of sales. That is an agreement between you and the seller on how you are going to make the purchase of the land. That's what a contract of sales is. It's an agreement between you and the seller of how the purchase of the land will be. Remember we said buying real estate is not like buying a car. It entails a whole lot. One of those things is your contract of sales. So within that contract of sales, you will see the agreement between you and the seller, how the terms of the agreement, and then if there is a breach, what happens. You need to read it very carefully and agree to it before you start your purchase journey. Then we have the land receipts. Very important. What's the receipts? The evidence of payments. Payment or payments. Sometimes it can come in form of receipts that is generated and e-receipts. Sometimes it can come in form of normal receipts that you know. Sometimes it can come in form of the transfers. That's that transfer you do online. What comes out after the transfer? So that is your evidence of payment, so that if there is a dispute, you can easily present it. Your land receipt is very important. And then deed of assignment. What is a deed? A deed is a legal document that transfers ownership of a land from one party to another. A legal document that transfers ownership of a land from one party to another. That's a deed. So if I am buying property from someone, what I need to have is the deed. It's a deed that shows that I have bought this property for you. That's the end point of the purchase. That's the end point of the purchase. Once you have signed the deed, that means the purchase of that land is complete. The ownership has been transferred to you. Now, for example, I want to buy a piece of property. The first thing I need to do is the first document I need will be the contract of sales. That's the contract of sales, the agreement between me and the person. After agreeing to it, the next is the receipts, the land receipt. So I start making my payment depending on the terms of the agreement. Now, when I'm done with my payment, what I now need from the person is the deed, the survey plan, and the C of O. That's what the person will give me. The deed, the survey plan, and the C of O. The deed will show that this person has transferred ownership of this land to me. The survey will show me the size of the land. It will still bear the person's name. The C of O will show me that this land was previously owned by this buyer. Are you getting it? So, but the deed is just the only thing that is showing that now I have acquired this property from the seller. Now, what I need to do after the acquisition is now to go to the government and change the survey, and the C of O. Are you getting it now? I will go to the government office and then register this transaction. Change the C of O and change the survey to bear my name. Yes. Talking of, that's the last part I wanted to come into, governor's consent. What is governor's consent? Whenever there is a land transfer, when there's transfer of ownership, the governor is supposed to be aware. That is the law in Nigeria. That's how it's supposed to be. So governor's consent is a paper that shows that the governor is aware of this land transaction. It's a legal document that shows that the government is aware of the land transaction. Without governor's consent, your deed and whatever you have might still be seen as invalid. It might still be seen as invalid, especially for those in Abuja and Lagos. Very, very important. Whatever land transaction you are doing, you need governor's consent. You need it very importantly. And it also helps you so that later, if there is a dispute in that land, the governor's consent will show that government was aware when you were buying this property. It's something you can put as evidence in court that will help you to secure your property when there is a land dispute. So these are some of the most important documents in land. The C of O, the governor's consent, the gazette, the power of attorney, survey plan, contract of sales, land receipts, and your deed of assignment. Very important. Now let's look at the steps to invest in land. I want to start an investment in land. What are the steps I will take? Number one, you must define your purpose. That is, why do you want to buy this land? Your purpose might be for investment, which is to resell. Your purpose might be for development. Your purpose might be for agriculture, etc. So if your purpose is to keep it as an investment, we call it land banking. That's what we call land banking, where you buy land just to keep it for a number of years before reselling. We call it land banking. So define your purpose. Do you want to start building immediately? Do you want to resell? Your purpose will determine the kind of land you will acquire. It's your purpose that will determine that. Then number two is determine your budget. How much do you want to buy, or how much do you have to buy land with? Determine your budget. How much do you want to use to acquire this land? Because your budget will essentially determine the areas or the kind of properties you will go for. Whenever someone tells you as a real estate agent, I want to buy a property, the first thing you ask the person is, why do you want to buy this property? That's the purpose. The second thing is, what is your budget? Then the third thing is your location. Where do you want this property? Which states? Which locality? Is it rural? Is it urban? From your purpose and your budget, it will even help us to determine the best locations for you. So, your purpose, your budget, the location. Now, in the location, what you should be looking out for someone that is investing in land, that's land banking now, what you should be looking out for is growth potential. That's what you should be looking out for in land investments. What's the possibility that this land will increase between now and the next 3 to 5 years? Remember, when I talked about land investments last week, we said every investment in land should stay at least 2 years. At least, like that should be your lowest limit, 2 years. Leave it for at least 2 years. So when I want to buy a piece of property and you tell me, oh, you are selling this land for 100,000, I'm not interested in how low it is or how high it is. What I'm interested in is what is the growth potential. In the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, will this place develop? Will it increase in the return on investment? How much do I think this place will sell in the next 2 to 3 years? Which kind of development is coming around this area? That is what will determine the growth potential. So that's the third thing you need to take, the third step, to research the location and then the growth potential. Number 4 is now verification. That's what we'll talk about, due diligence. Verifying the ownership and the documents of the land. So you've gotten a land and then the person tells you, oh, this land is this, is that. The next thing is to take the documents for verification. What do you need to verify? You need to verify the person's survey. You need to verify the person's C of O, if they have. You need to check if the land has been released under gazettes. You need to verify the deeds within the family the person bought it from. You need to make inquiries of the land. That's the due diligence. So in land purchase, every party is involved. You can't say I want to buy a land and government will not be involved. You can't say I want to buy a land and surveyor will not be involved. You can't say you want to buy a land and lawyer will not be involved. Every party, you can't even say you want to buy a land and the community will not be involved. The families will not be involved. Everybody needs to be involved in that purchase. So you do your due diligence. You engage the professionals, the lawyers, the surveyors, and the real estate agents. Because real estate agents are those people that will help you do proper diligence on that land. The real estate agents are the ones that will make sure they go to the bottom and check if that land is owned by that person, and if that person has the right to sell. If someone else has sold that land, if that land had a problem before, the lawyers will not do it for you. The surveyors will not do it for you. That's the truth. It's only a certified real estate agent, that's a realtor, that can go and do due diligence. Remember, due diligence is not just drafting documents. Let me tell you the truth. If a lawyer drafts the document, the contract of sales, the deed, the highest you can do is to continue going to court. Maybe at the end, maybe a compensation will be given or not. Do you know that? Maybe it's just a compensation. That is why whenever you are acquiring a land, involve realtors, involve a real estate agent. Let them go and do due diligence on the land. Make all the inquiries. Involve the professionals, the lawyers, the surveyors, and the real estate agents. Then inspect the land physically. You need to come and see the land. Look at it. Leave what is written on paper. Come and see it for yourself. And make sure that, oh, this land is not in a waterlogged area. Because sometimes people will tell you, oh, this land is free from this, is free from that. When you come there, you will now start seeing waterways in the land. You need to come and inspect it for yourself. If you are overseas, you can request for a video call when the real estate agent is there. Do a video call and see the land for yourself. Then the next thing is to negotiate and conclude your payment. So in this process, now that's where you now draft the contract of sales, and then you have a negotiation of the price, and then the terms of payments. And then when you are done with that, you now do your payments, take your receipts, get your deeds from the person, and collect the documents. Now, this is an example. Someone bought land this year, wanted to buy a land, not bought. And then when he was about to make that purchase, the owner of the land said, I'm not going to release all the documents of the land. What does that tell you? It shows me that there is interest in that land that I'm not aware of. Because once I'm buying a land, all the documents needs to be released to me. All the documents needs to be released to me. So it's very, very vital. Get all your documents, then after getting them, go to the government office, register the transaction. Register it in the Ministry of Lands. Register that transaction, perfect your title. That is, if you need to change the CFO, if you need to change the survey, you go ahead to make those changes. Then, lastly, this one is very important. A lot of people mix this one. Fence your land. Fence your land. Very, very important. In Nigeria, if you buy land and you don't fence it, that land is not yet your own. Until the day you fence it, that is when we will be like, yes, this is now your land. Because when you are fencing it, that's when everybody that has interest in that land will start coming out. So, very importantly, fence your land. Make sure you've started something inside it. Either fencing, or maybe you do poultry house, do a gate house, whatever, but make sure you start something there. Because that is when people that have interest in the land will come out and say, this is our property, this one happened, or this one was owned by my great-grandfather. Everybody will now start bringing out their documents, and there will be a cross-check of what is going on. So, very, very important. Even if you cannot do proper fencing, a dwarf fence is acceptable. A dwarf fence, that is 4 coaches. 2 coaches inside, 2 coaches of block outside, is acceptable. Anybody that is entering into a fenced land is encroaching by law. So anybody doing anything into your land is now encroaching. And you can now go to law to sue them. But if there is no fence, there is no encroachment yet. If there is no fencing, there is no encroachment yet. So do something at the boundaries of your land. What are the benefits of land investment? It's a hedge against inflation. Land is not affected by inflation. So when you have land, you know that no matter what is happening, you have an asset that will keep increasing. You have an asset that keeps giving you high return on investment. Because anytime you want to sell that asset, you say it's higher than what you bought it. That's the truth. Anytime you want to still sell that land, you sell it higher than what you bought it. So land has a high return on investment. In fact, it's one of the best investments you can have. I tell people, stop putting your money in bank. That interest bank will give you is just very small compared to what land can give you. If you have a property today that is worth, okay, let me even give an instance. When we bought our Ibariam property, how much did we start selling it? 2.5 million. No, 2 million, sorry. It started with 2 million. It sold 2 million, it sold 2.5. Within the first 3 months, it sold 3 million. Now we're selling for 5.5, and this is just 2 years. 2 years and you're making 2 million on top, or 2 point something million on top. That is land. When we bought our Vatican Garden Estate, Enugu, we were selling for 2 million, 2.5. Now we're selling for 5 million. When we bought Asaba started selling for 1.5 million. Now we're selling what? 5 million. That is land. Land never depreciates. It always appreciates. There's a land I bought at Achala. When I bought it, how much? 100,000. You know how much that land is selling now? 1.5 million. It will always appreciate. Some of the lands we bought in Ibadan was 50,000 that people bought it. And now he's selling 5 million. So land is one of the best forms of investment anyone can have, because it has high return on investment and is an asset. You are sure it's not depreciating, it's always there for you. Then it can also be used as collateral. It's one of the properties you can use as collateral to take loans from the bank. You can also use land as a stream of income. You can lease it to people for farming, for poultry, for agriculture, and for other things. Like some of the land are leased to all these mechanics. They use it as workshops. They are leased to some restaurants, the people that just want to do a 10th form of restaurant. So those are still forms of streams of income. In Oka here, when you lease a property, lease a land, it's being leased at least 2 million, 2.5 million per year. Is that not a good source of income? It is. So you can also use it for leasing as a source of income, and is long-term wealth creation. Now, what do I mean by long-term wealth creation? Someone had land that he bought in 1978. He bought the land for, when I asked him, he said around 50 naira thereabouts. Around 50 naira thereabouts. Then money still had value now. Now, his child needed to go abroad. In 2024, he decided to sell that land. You know how much he sold the land? 105 million. 105 million. Now, at that point in 1998, that 50 naira might be estimated to currently around, you say? That 50 naira should be estimated around, let's say, 50,000 or so. But now the land is selling at around 100.5 million. Is that not a long-term wealth creation? Now imagine you buy land now, 1 million, 1.5 million, 2.5 million, 3.5 million, and then you just keep it. And when you get to a certain level, and then you want to settle your children, or you want to go into, or you just want to retire, you don't want to do any other thing, you can just sell that land that you bought now for 3.5 million. Maybe then it will enter into millions, hundreds of millions. That will just be your retirement package. You just sit down and start enjoying the fruit of your labor. That is how land is. It's a long-term wealth creation. The only thing we'll tell people is, let land stay long-term for you. Don't buy land and just say, I want to buy, sell it immediately. Look at the future. Sometimes we say, buy for the future. Any land you are buying now, you have now, you fenced it. My dear, leave it for the next 20 years. That land will have nothing less than 200% return on investment. That's how important land is. So it's very important that everybody invests in land. Well, land also has risks and challenges. Number one risk you find in land is scams and fraudulent sellers. That's one of the risks, important risks in land. You will see 419. In fact, I think land has the most scams, second to technology. That's the internet fraud. Land is the next important place we have scams, a lot of scams. That is why due diligence is very important. Sometimes a father will sell, a son will sell. Sometimes in the community, one family will sell, another family will sell. Due diligence is very, very vital in land. Land is not something you want to buy. Someone just tells you, say, okay, buy it. No. Involve the right professionals. Let them go and make inquiry on that land. Very, very important. Another risk in land is land grabbers. That is, people that just want to take possession of someone else's land. You see it in families. They know that you are the owner of this land. Somebody will come and say, no, I'm the owner, and bring a fake document. Maybe because they have more money than you, and they feel like they will win the court case. So that's what we call land grabber. Someone that just wants to take property, even though they know it's not their own. It happens in land. That is why whenever you buy your land, make sure you do due diligence. After doing due diligence, make sure you get the proper documents. You register your documents, and also make sure you fence your land. So that tomorrow someone is taking your land to court, you sue the person for encroachment because you have already fenced this land. You have registered documents that show that government signed on this land. Are you getting it? Very, very vital. Then another risk involved in land is government acquisition. One estate in Lagos was complaining how government took over their property. Sometimes we have government acquisition of land. If you don't do the necessary thing, government might not compensate you. If you don't do the necessary thing, that is checking if this land was free from government ownership from the onset. When government comes to take the land, they will ask you, did you check whether this land was free from government hold? Are you getting it? So there won't be any compensation for you. But when you do the due diligence and make sure that government does not have any interest in this land at first, and you have signed documents that show that government said they did not have any interest in this land, then when government now decides to have interest in that land, they will have to compensate you. Are you now getting it? That's where compensation from government comes. Because, like we said, all land is still owned by government. So government can still decide to take any land. But compensation will be determined by if you did your due diligence and if you have the proper documents required for the land. Then another risk is market fluctuations. Of course, we know that sometimes when you want to liquidify your assets, you have that land and you want to liquidify it. You see that sometimes, because of the market fluctuation, you might not be able to liquidify it at that point. Because land has seasons when it sells more than other seasons. There are seasons when you bring out your land. It's very, very good, or in a very good place, but nobody is asking about it. There are seasons you bring it out, everybody is rushing for it. The market fluctuation. Then poor documentation is one of the risks in land. You buy land, they gave you only receipts, or they gave you receipt and deed, and you went home and you say you are done. You are just starting your process. So poor documentation is one of the risks you will see in land. Now the solution for land is due diligence. Make sure you do due diligence. Involve the right professionals. Make sure you have the proper documentation. If you have all of these, at the end of the day, if anything will go wrong, it will be very, very difficult. And even if it will go wrong, when you get to court, it will be very easy for you to defend. You even get more money because someone is actually encroaching into your property. Very, very important. Due diligence, involve the right professionals, and do your documentation. When I talk about professionals also, your deed, make sure it is written and stamped by a lawyer. Because I've seen some people, they go and write their own deed, they draft it and give to you, you draft it. You say, make sure it is written and signed by a lawyer. It must. Make sure it is. Very, very importantly. Because I've seen people that go for land and the deed they give them, it's the seller that will give you a deed. He now gives you a deed and it's just deed showing that It might be admissible in court, but it will not be a strong evidence because there was no law force backing it. Very importantly. Okay, now let me share some practical tips when it comes to land investment. One of the things you need to know about land investment, you need to start small. Let's say you have 500 million today and you want to invest in land. Don't take all that 500 million and invest in land. And don't even go and buy one land somewhere and say, maybe this land, 10 hectares is 500 million. No. You need to start small. Start buying little by little. Buy one plot here, buy one plot here, buy one plot here. Why? Spread it. Because you might buy from here, and at the end of the day, it will not give you that high return on investment as this one will. Do you know there are people that bought 10 plots, and just someone that bought one plot that was lower than the 10 plots has a high return on investment than the 10 plots? There are people that bought 10 plots, maybe they bought it 50 million. Someone bought one plot of, let's say, 5 million. And at the end of the day, that 5 million has high return on investment than the 50 million. Depends on location. That's why it's good to spread your assets. Don't buy from one place. Very, very importantly, start small. Grow gradually. Spread your investments. Make sure that wherever you are buying is legit. That's just the most important thing. But spread it. Because you don't know where will give you the highest return on investment. Number 2 is look out for prime opportunities. Now, I've discovered this. Most people that want to invest in land, especially people overseas, they will look for their brother that will buy a land in their village for them. What is the growth potential in your village? That's what you need to check. Where is your village located? There are villages that have, in fact, every land we buy is not in someone's village. It's in someone's village. We are not buying from our own villages. We're looking out for growth potential. So you go and buy the land that is in your village. What is the growth potential of that land in the next 50 years? People that own land in some areas of Ogun State, till today, maybe that land was selling for 10,000, now it's selling for 100,000. What's the return? It's still increased though, but it's just very little. Whereas someone bought another land close to Lagos in 10,000 the same year, and now that land is around ₦1 billion. The same price that you bought the land. But the difference is just the growth potential. This one went to the village to buy. This one went to a place that has growth potential to buy. So that is the mistake a lot of people make. You ask them, have you bought land? They say, hey, they bought in their village. That land in your village, what is the return on investment? After 10 years, after 20 years, after 50 years, what's the return on investment? I'm not saying it's wrong for you to acquire lands from your hometown. But like I said, spread your assets. Spread it. Buy from here. Buy from places that you also know that there are growth potential. Then some people will tell you, I can't buy from Anambra. I don't like Anambra. You don't need to like somewhere to buy from there. You don't need to like it to buy from there. What you are just looking at is, what is the growth potential in this place? No matter how much you don't like Lagos now, if you bought land in Lagos in the 1960s, how much do you think it would have been selling now? Even if you don't like it, you can sell it now and get billions. No matter how much you didn't like Abuja, if you bought land in the 1960s, now how much do you think it will sell? There are locations that have growth potential. That's what you are looking out for. Don't say, I don't like this place. It doesn't matter. Look out for prime opportunities. Think long term. That's the growth potential. If I buy this land now, in the next 10 years, that's your projection, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, what do I think is the return on investment? How will I know that? Come to our advanced class. We'll teach how to look at growth potentials of properties. You will learn how to look at growth potentials of properties, how to actually say that this property in the next 5 years, it will be sold at this amount. You can value a property and say that this property now currently, this is what it's selling. And when they ask in the market, you see that he's selling for that price. And then you can say, okay, in the next 10 years, this is how much this property will sell. Then buy from verified real estate companies. At least when you buy it, you have peace of mind. Even if you cannot fence, you see that they do the fencing for you. They would have done a round fencing on their property. So now you have peace of mind that, okay, at least I know that this asset is secured. Very, very importantly. Then avoid too good to be true offers. There are some offers you see. You'll be like, no, in this area, this is selling for this amount. I don't think it's possible. Avoid some of those offers. Avoid them. Because most times they will not tell you what is behind that offer. I was driving a client to Ibarriam, and he was discussing with his friend, and it was like he bought a hostel in Ibarriam. When he was buying it, the hostel was being sold at 20 million. And currently, hostels they are selling 50, 60 million. So when he saw 20 million, he was so happy. He bought the place. Everything was legit, though. But do you know the problem? Spiritual problem. He didn't know. Everybody in that property ran away because there was all these charms and spirit that was disturbing them. Now he came on board. He didn't know what was happening. The sellers did not tell him, and he did not do due diligence. He bought it. He finished redecorating and all. Nobody is staying in that property till now. After wasting his own money. His asset is still there. That's the good thing about land. Your asset is still there. So later you can still sell it. But after wasting all the money and renovating and all, nobody is staying in the property. Because anybody that wants to take the property, they will tell him, do you know what happened here? Very importantly, avoid too good to be true offers. Make sure you do your due diligence. So he was not telling his friend, I want to sell this property. I didn't know that this was what happened. And now I finished renovating it. There are some hotels I know in Oka that nobody goes to because of what has happened there. And nobody will tell you, and someone will come and buy that place. And at the end of the day, your money will just hang there. Your money is still there. Maybe in the next 20 years you will sell it, or next 10 years. But for now, you can't sell it because of the stigma. And the person that sold it to you will not tell you. That's the thing. That's why due diligence is very important. I tell people, if you want to buy a property, and you know the person that is selling the property, fine and good. You've heard of everything, fine and good. Still employ a real estate agent that will go and do due diligence. Tell the person, go and do findings for me in this property. Very important. You know everything, but just do the due diligence. It will help you to make sure that this property does not have any issue. So those are some of the practical tips I have for you. In our advanced class, we'll teach more on land acquisitions. There are a lot of things you still don't know. There are a lot of things that will make sure that this land you are buying, government will not take over it. There are a lot of things that will ensure that no land grabber will come tomorrow to fight for your land with you. Those things are still in our documentation, but they are now for advanced. When you finish the basics, because what we are doing here is the basics. For you to understand what land is, how to make the land purchase. Then, in conclusion, as we conclude today, land is a profitable, is a safe form of investment in Nigeria. If you do it well, it is very safe and is very profitable. It has a very high return on investment. But what you need in land is to do due diligence, proper documentation, and involve the right professionals. That is what will ensure that the land you are buying is safe and will give you a high return on investment. Now, I would like to appreciate every one of you for joining us today, those online and those on site. For those online, we'll be shutting down now. If you have any questions, please send it as a comment on the video, or send it to my DM and I'll reply you very shortly. And for those of us here, we'll shut down and take questions. So, let's take questions. Any questions on our topic?